Hi Panthers. We are working on elements of story. We have already talked about plot. We have already talked about setting. And today we are going to talk about characters or a character. Okay. So when we talk about character, that's an important element of the story. Without characters, story or a character story cannot happen, right? So character is a person or animal or anything personified. Okay, there can be main character, there can be minor characters, but someone who is playing a role in the story, animal, bird, human being, anything who is playing role in a story is a character. And if there are multiple, so it's characters. Okay, so that's what character is: person playing role in the story. A person, again I reiterate, a person, animal, anything which is being personified in the story. For example, if we talk about, and I don't know, I always give you example of Cinderella, right? In Cinderella, Cinderella is a character, stepmom is character, dad is character, stepsisters are character, prince, and so many, right? So there are different kinds of characters. Okay, so please pay attention. The first we will talk about is protagonist. Protagonist is the hero in the story, or the main character, right? Always goody goody, always positive. So that's what a protagonist is. So if we talk about Cinderella, the story of Cinderella, who is protagonist? Cinderella is the protagonist, right? The story revolves around her and she's a goody character in the story, right? And the next is antagonist. So antagonist is most of the times antagonist is against protagonist. Antagonist is a negative character, right? Always have some issues with the protagonist. So if we talk about Cinderella, the story of Cinderella, who is the antagonist? Stepmom and stepsisters, right? Because they are always after her, asking her to do chores and treating her bad. So in Cinderella's story, who is the antagonist? Stepmom and stepsister. So protagonist, goody goody person, positive. Antagonist, the negative person. And then we have dynamic, round, or main character. Okay, I'm not trying to confuse it. That's the reason I use these slashes. So they are basically the same. Okay, when I say dynamic, round, main character, dynamic or round or main, it means these kind of characters, they play a major role in the story. This character is the main person in the story, right? So if we talk about Goldilocks and three bears, right? We did that story in our plot activity, right? So who is the main character? Goldilocks is the main character. The story revolves around her, right? So and if we talk about Cinderella, who is the main character in the story of Cinderella? Cinderella, right? The story revolves around her. Though there is a prince, right? But Cinderella is the main major dynamic round character. Okay? And then the next type of character is dynamic, flat, opposite of round, minor, opposite of main. So these characters, static, flat, minor characters or characters, they play an important role in the story. Without their support, major, dynamic, round characters would not survive, right? So they play an important role, but the story does not revolve around them. They support the major dynamic character, right? But remember, we need to keep that in mind. They also play an important role. So if we think about Cinderella, in Cinderella, the major character is Cinderella. So who do you think are the minor characters or the flat characters or the static characters? Dad, right? Dad is a character, right? So dad is a static character, not growing, right? And stepmom and stepsisters, they are minor characters, not growing, right? But without them, story would have been different. There would be no story, right? So, and we will talk about this in detail when we are in the virtual classroom, okay? We will do activity in Khan Academy. We will work on vocabulary, and then also we have a wonderful activity on brain pop. We will be working on that, and then after all that, also Khan Academy, never forget we are doing Khan Academy lessons too. So we will watch those, we will work on those, and then finally we will have an activity which is going to be an assignment, okay? So let's quickly briefly overview this, okay? Our character is a person or animal or anything personified, okay? There are 4 kind of characters: protagonist, the positive goody-goody person; antagonist, the person who has issues with protagonist, the negative person, right? And the dynamic, round or main character, and then the static, flat or minor character. Okay, now after this, the characters also developed as the story develops, okay? Keep that in mind. The character changes, okay? And when we will read our short stories, I will talk to you guys about that. Also, there are certain character traits, right? Sometimes the character traits are written directly, and sometimes they are you have to make that inference, okay? That is indirect characterization. So we will talk about that more in my next lesson. So in my next lesson, we are going to talk about characterization, direct characterization and indirect characterization, okay? Thank you.